What's up, everybody? Circus here coming at you with this week's Power Rankings video. Is it going to be another week of Onomat domination? What do you think, Kamel?
I think we're going to have to see if Onomats did not have any competition this week again.
Last week was absolutely ridiculous.
Last week they blew them out of the water.
Yes, we'll have to see if it's the same thing this week. But in case you're new to the series and you don't know what we're doing here, each week we track decks as they're played in tournaments around the community, and then we assign them points based on how they finish, and then we rank them. So if a deck gets first place finish, it's going to get 6 points. A second place finish is 4 points. A top 4 is 2 points, and a top 8 is a single point.
That's right, Circus. And to keep the power rankings consistent, all of the tournaments we track have to have the same format, and that being rounds of Swiss into a top cut, with the deck format being one deck with a 7-card side where you can side in skills. And the tournaments that met that criteria this week were the Battle Phase Series, the Meta Series, including the MCS, and the Ruby League and the Maker Cup.
Yep.
Nice.
So it's 9 tournaments this week. Last week it was 10, so roughly the same sample size. So this should give us a good clue as to what the meta is doing. And this week we do have a top 5. Last
5
week,
decks, nice.
Yeah, instead of just 3. So let's get right into it and take a look at number 5.
Give me number 5.
Absent chat for ninjas. They're done.
Hopefully you caught our broken rogue deck video earlier this weekend. I think that's why everybody started playing the deck. They never heard of it before our video on Saturday. And look at it. Already number 5 in the power rankings this week, Kamel. Can you believe it?
Yeah, Gaia is actually pretty huge. A really fun deck to watch and play. And it has gotten a tournament victory this week in Battle Phase Wednesday, securing itself in the 5th spot. Gaia is one of those decks that can play off of, just a couple cards for a comeback, but it's where it is fragile and, having the weakness to back row removal of its field spell, it does still have ways to play out in the long run if they're able to survive from their, easy inclusion of OP back rows such as Book of Moon and TTH. So the deck does have its bases covered if your deck looks like Jordy's Battle Phase Wednesday champion.
I don't know. It just seems like this is one of those decks where it just has very specific good matchups. It's not like an all-around, like, I can handle anything kind of deck. It's like
hand-trap decks.
Right.
Decks that do not, that are very weak to quick effect disruption.
Mm-hmm.
Decks that cannot finish you off in one turn. This deck are very strong against, but anything that comes very well equipped and is ready to remove cards from your field before you can do things with them, or remove things from your graveyard before you can recover. Those are the big weaknesses that Gaia have.
Yeah, and that's why I think we're always going to kind of see it down maybe, 3rd place and below. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, but good luck, Gaia. I know Herp's rooting for you. All right, let's take a look at number 4.
We could be looking at game, folks.
Can you believe it, Kamel? Winner of the MCS? What?
Thunder Dragons won the MCS?
Yes.
And it was side deck?
Yes.
I guess the inclusion of, this is pretty huge, right? Because something did change for Thunder Dragons that also changed for Onomats. They gained an Xyz monster with a quick effect that they can easily access. Of course, you guys know the Inzector Exabeetle into Digital Bug, Cero, Subis, whatever combo. And this is pretty good because this is something that Thunder Dragons lacked a lot. Quick effect disruption and disruption on your opponent's turn in general is something that Thunder Dragons never had access to. So now they have a more proactive turn 1 play than just negate with Photon Strike Bouncer. And this helps the deck significantly. If you can disrupt your opponent in any way, force them to play differently on their first turn, it sets you up very well for your follow-up turn, where you can make any of your other aggressive Xyz monsters or summon Levineer or any Thunder Dragon for damage to end the game faster. I think that's one of the main weaknesses that Thunder Dragon had, and now they have while it's not a great option, it is something that will work when your opponent puts a monster on the field. And that's what matters.
I think this deck's just hanging on for dear life. Let's be honest here. 5 top A's. Let's be honest here. Come on now.
Yeah, the Thunder Dragons have had it rough in recent weeks as the meta has kind of shifted to a back row meta. However, Thunder Dragons are not very weak against these back row decks that are popping up to suppress aggressive decks, and they now have a powerful extra deck option.
I know. He's playing 3-Sphere Karibo and a Lightning Vortex. Come on now.
You got to know where your advantages are at, man. You got to know where they're at.
All right. I'm just not a big fan of the deck. If this deck were to disappear, I'd be like, Thunder Dragons who? Thunder Dragons who? Circus, you're not nice. You're right. All right, we're going to move on to number 3.
Hot Red Archfiend Bane is lethal.
Okay, coming to number 3, Resonators.
Yeah.
Should this be number 2 or number 1?
Resonators are coming in at number 3 this week.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Not much has been changing for the deck, but something else around the deck has been changing.
What's that? Dude,
I think this deck has finally been beaten by its main counterpart that has arisen to defeat it.
We'll have to wait and see. Don't spoil. Don't spoil. We still got 2 decks to go.
We'll have to see, but Resonators, they're kind of getting figured out. Their one-dimensional play style, they have officially been cemented as the weaker of the 2 aggressive decks. That being Onomats, obviously no surprise as of last week. Resonators are relying on the strength of Book of Moon and TTH to really give them that backup strength on their opponent's turn, and while they ramp up to get their powerful synchro monsters out, their weaknesses are being extremely identified, and people know when to stop them before they hit their level 8 synchro power spike. So I'd say not too much is getting better for the deck, and there's just better matchups coming out, and more people are playing those other decks. You can see the representation has dropped significantly as of late.
I think it was Rye was talking about in Battle Step today. The problem with this deck is everybody's just decided to play the hero version, and he said this deck has a lot of room for experimentation, but everybody's just kind of locked into the hero thing, and maybe there's something down the line that could help it.
Well, we've also seen Caius as well. Caius the Shadow Monarch, that being a very powerful game option to go for, which doesn't require you to go into a level 8 synchro, but it is, I think it's optional. In your side deck you have 7 cards. What more do you really need in a side deck for this deck? You have to think, I can go for 1 more optional engine, and then I can also put in stuff to counter my opponent. I have 7 slots. I can do all that with this deck. So playing heroes, I don't think is too much of a handicap. You're still very versatile. Your side deck allows you to be very versatile, especially with this deck.
I think we talked about this before. One of the biggest weaknesses of this is like the main engine. It doesn't do like a whole lot, right? I mean, you're not drawing specific like techs and things like that. Like, you can go in and pop a monster, but then you can't attack with it or something, or it loses attack, so you got to like synchro out of it, and you use a lot of resources, but you're not like gaining a lot of card advantage. Sometimes you just have to hard draw into your TTH or your Book of Moon. There isn't just like a draw two like a lot of decks have or have had in the past, right?
Yeah, this deck is definitely suffering because of that, and its explosive 1-turn plays are slowly just not becoming enough to deal with most decks, as they were previously.
Enough about Resonators, but let's get into number
2.
And guess what? There's no cool transition, Kamel, and I'll tell you why.
Why? What?
Look at this deck. I'll show you what number 2 is. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at the top 8 finishes here. Only one of those is our tournament. Only one of those is our tournament, which you did, and you viewed them like in Swiss, and it was the end of a round, and they just got bodied by Blue Eyes, so there was no good footage there.
And then I watched them in the finals, though, right?
And it was a 2-0 for Onomats, and they just got destroyed. And then I went back in the power rankings to look for previous times that they did well. we don't watch them in our tournaments. We always just skip over them. There was like no like really good tournament footage of Shiranui to make like a cool transition out of.
Well, guys, Shiranui is number 2, 3 tournament wins on the week.
Yeah.
And I was not joking when I said that the counter to Resonators is actually doing really, really good. Shiranui's is stupid consistent. I will not tell you how many times you watch Shiranui and how many times they open Gozuki Samurai Skull with 3 back row. It is disgusting. There are multiple viable skills with this deck. Endless Trap Hell. I've seen Post-Hamas Army. I've seen Destiny Draw. All types of stuff people playing with this deck. And there is not much to it. You have a tight monster core. The best decks in the game right now are super aggressive and can be easily locked down by back row.
Yep.
So Shiranui's, it's free real estate, baby. You get wins because there is no deck in the meta right now, is main decking graveyard, graveyard disruption, restricting your access to graveyard effects.
Right.
So Shiranui are running rampant because all of their materials are untouchable by their opponent. Most of the counters right now are for on the field monster effects. Destroying and dealing with monsters. Shiranui, destroy your monsters. Thank you. Negate my monster effects in the field. Thank you. I can use them in the graveyard. It does not matter. They will just, use their traps to get rid of your monsters and Shiranui for game.
I know. You look at the back row and it's like, this feels like a year ago, doesn't it? I mean, look at that.
Yeah, but when aggressive decks arise and they have, one-dimensional strategies, and we don't have, very oppressive decks that have multiple avenues for victory, Shiranui becomes very good because shutting down that one avenue for play is very easy with this deck.
Like, I summon a monster. I'm going to flip that down.
I
summon my boss monster. Phoenix Chain. It's just like,
I don't want that.
Ballista Squad.
Yeah, get that out of here, dude.
So they can just sit there and just flip down, destroy, and then just play the game at their own pace. And that's what a control deck does.
And this is why, synchros are bad, because when synchro decks are the best decks, then Shiranui come up, man, and they're like, no, synchro decks are not good anymore. They're like, we're better now. We're the best synchro deck. Shiranui. Don't you know?
That's the thing with Shiranui. They got it down to just what they need to do their synchros, and then they can just sit and play control, which they, excel at. So why not?
And while the Shiranui Onomat matchup is not totally favored in Shiranui because they run back row, it definitely gives them a much better matchup than other decks that simply cannot disrupt Onomats turn for turn over and over and over again. Shiranui definitely can do more than most other decks.
All right, you keep saying Onomats like that they're number one. Let's find out.
Chad, Onomat players be like, they're chilling right now.
Let's find out for certain if they really are. Here we go, number one.
Man, who cares about it? No one cares about this, right? Does anyone care what's happening on the screen right now?
All right, Kamel, did you look ahead of time? You must have known. How did you know?
Chad, Onomat players be like, oh my gosh.
Look at that.
They didn't even have to do anything different. Yeah, Onomats won Battle Phase Thursday again. I was not surprised in the slightest. Onomat's best deck. You cannot defeat them. People underestimate Onomats every time, despite them being probably the most played, most successful deck. Like I say, even though this deck is an aggressive deck like Resonators or even Harpies and some of these other decks that that take advantage of the same type of strategy, Onomats are so much more devastating because even one card in tandem with their skill can turn into a full-scale comeback, which is the last thing you want if you're unable to seal the deal on them. They do not play hand traps, so you do have to play very carefully, knowing that all the cards in their hand are playable at all times. They're not going to be passively waiting, to give them an advantage later. Or if they are, then you have to take that advantage to, end the duel. You cannot let Onomats bounce back.
Dude, look at that top 32 conversion rate.
Yeah.
50%.
50%. Maybe that's a record. I don't know. I think we maybe
it feels
had better.
like it.
We maybe had better, but maybe at number one.
if you play Onomats, you have a 50-50 shot to make top in a
that's
tournament.
crazy, dude. If you can read Onomat cards, you can get top 32 in a tournament. Isn't that insane?
It's a 50-50 shot.
If
Why
you
wouldn't you
build
play
a
it?
deck,
Yeah.
if you build a deck, you have a 50-50 shot, dude. That's insane. That's our next
Well, look at the
video
top
title
8.
for Onomats.
Top 8 in first place, 16%. Think about that. 16% top 8 conversion rate. That's unheard of in a first place
You
deck.
cannot beat that. You can't beat that.
No, you can't.
I mean,
22 top 8 finishes. Now, they didn't win by double the points this week, but I mean, it's still pretty good. 46 points in the next one. I think, what was it, like 24? So, I mean,
yeah, those odds are very, very good. Only losing to Thunder Dragons, which does have a good Onomat matchup, despite Thunder Dragons kind of falling out of, play as Onomats became popular. Thunder Dragons are one deck that do have a good Onomat matchup, having multiple floats, hand traps, multiple ways to destroy monsters on their own turn, and now they have access to Rhinoceros, as do Onomats as well. But Onomats is not as effective against Thunder Dragons, so keep in mind, Thunder Dragons may be one of those very good decks against Onomats in the future.
I hope not. All right, let's take a look here at overall representation this week. Look at that. Just Onomats. And then Shiranui. Everybody's like, hey,
Shiranui,
I got the stuff. Let's play.
It's the best synchro deck, baby.
It is. It is. When your core is this big and you can run this many traps, why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
All right, let's take a look at top 8 conversions. We kind of know this one, but there weren't a lot of decks that qualify because our rule is you got to have your deck played at least 20 times in the week. That way you don't get someone that played a deck twice and they made the top.
Yeah, let's get some more Gaia players, man. The deck is really tight. It's very good. I think Gaia is very good. I really like playing it, watching it. It's really fun.
All right, and then top 8 finishes. It was just Onomats this
Oh
week.
my gosh!
Shiranui won 3 tournaments.
Close.
That's why they did so well.
22.
Yeah, I mean, you can be like, oh, well, look how close Shiranui was. Well, they got 3 wins, so that gave him 18 points right there.
Yeah, that's a real power play for Shiranui this week.
Yeah.
When you look at it.
But had those instead of being first place finishes, if they were just top 4s, this wouldn't even be close. So 22 top 8 finishes. That's crazy. Here's the overall scores, like I said. So yeah, it was a 22-point difference this week. So not as crazy, but that's still pretty dominant. That's still, at least 3 tournament victories worth of points, over the next deck. So, and then the tier list, I don't know. Kind of like this.
Yeah, that's good. I'd say that's good. Where's Harpies, man? What happened to Harpies? They weren't in the top 5.
What
happened to Harpies?
11 points.
Oh my god,
Yep.
Gaia beat Harpies.
By a point. Look at that, though. Super heavy samurai with 4 points.
They beat Yosenu's Vendreads.
Look at these
playing
rogues.
very well in Battle Phase Thursday. They got 2 points there. Top 4 finish. Very nice.
Yeah, but look at these rogues that are in here. Super heavies, Vendreads, Yusenjus,
Yep.
Stardust. So, I mean, there's still room. The meta's definitely starting to settle at this point. We'll just have to wait and see if a new box, a new structure deck, or anything can shake it up. But right now, this is definitely, I feel like this is going to be the meta for a little bit. Unless somebody thinks of something. We'll have to wait and see. So, again, the tier list. Let us know what you think, guys. Is it just going to be complete Onomat domination? I know people
Shiranui are coming, bro. As soon as more people are like, hey, I can just play Shiranui. I'd beat most of these guys.
The majority of the comments are going to be Onomats, nerf, skill. Again, I can tell you right now that's what it's going to be.
Guys, give me your best Chad Onomat players be like meme comment in the comment section. And let us know what you think about the tier list. The new box is kind of settled. Didn't do much. Just gave Onomats a power boost.
But you were saying this is the synchro era. It's the synchro era. The number 1 deck is an Xyz deck. Isn't this what we want?
For now.
But if we nerf it, it's going to fall to the synchros.
You don't have to nerf it. Shiranui are coming through.
Okay, you're a Shiranui fan. I see how it is. All right, guys. Let us know what you think in the comments below. We're gonna get out of here, but you should get in the Discord because it's free. The tournaments are free, and the new player help is free. I'm Circus. That's Kamel.
Peace out, guys.
And we'll see you next time.